A controversial return. Former Democratic Republic of Congo President Joseph Kabila is back home after a self-imposed exile. The government accuses Kabila of backing the M23 rebels who've seized large areas in eastern DRC.
Is this real? Joseph Kabila is the one supporting M23? No, this is a lie. It's a lie. They are trying to hoodwink us. Can't be the one.
So what does Kabila's return mean for the fragile security situation there? This is Inside Story. Hello, welcome to the program. I'm Adrian Finnegan. The Democratic Republic of Congo is facing one of the world's largest displacement and humanitarian crises. Instability and violence have killed at least 7,000 people and forced millions to flee their homes since the start of this year. Rwandan-backed M23 rebels have taken large areas in the east, including the city of Goma.
Now, if you say Rwanda-backed M23 rebels, and where is the connection? Joseph Kabila backed M23 rebels. Where is the connection? You know, Joseph Kabila is passing through Rwanda to support, to facilitate M23. I don't know. And you will agree with me. You know, M23 started way back when Joseph Kabila was still a president. Yes, they have been there. And now you say he's the one supporting them. You mean he was supporting rebels to fight his government? How can that be?
The capital of North Kivu province. And there are fears the tense and fragile security situation could worsen after former President Joseph Kabila returned from exile. Kabila says he returned to DRC to, quote, participate in peace efforts. But President Felix Tshisekedi's government accuses him of backing M23. So, before we get to our guests, let's just remind ourselves of who Joseph Kabila is. Kabila led the DRC from 2001 to 2019, taking office at the age of 29. He became president after his father, the former president, Laurent Kabila, was assassinated. Joseph Kabila extended his mandate by delaying elections for 2 years after his term ended in 2017. He wanted to hold a referendum to allow himself a third term. In 2018, Kabila formed a power-sharing deal with the current DRC president, Felix Tshisekedi, but the president accused him of blocking reforms. Joseph Kabila left the country in 2023 for exile in South Africa and other countries. Well, as we mentioned, Kabila has now returned to the DRC, saying it's where he's needed the most because of the fighting there. A month ago, he warned there's a, quote, risk of political turmoil anywhere in the country. He accused President Tshisekedi of being the root cause. This is what he had to say.
Now, I do think and believe the situation in DRC, is beyond the former president and the current president. It's beyond them. Yeah, the forces supporting this turmoil is outside DRC. Yes, the co-conspirators of this, they are outside the countries, outside the allies are the one. And the reports have shown massively that Rwanda is the one backing M23. Yes, and you've seen Congolese expressing their mind that even Uganda, UPDF, General Kaguta Museveni is also among those supporting M23. The Congolese, they have been saying that. You've seen them, on the streets around Congo, asking General Museveni, the Ugandan president, and Paul Kagame, the Rwandan president, to leave their country, to stop funding the M23. Those are the Congolese people, what they are thinking. That's what was on their minds. And the world reports, Europe, they have come out and found that Rwanda is the one funding M23. Now, all of a sudden, you come out and the news we find that Joseph Kabila, the former president, is now the founder of M23. How can that be? Bro, it's like they are taking us away from the real cause of the turmoil, the fight in DRC, somewhere else. No, they are dividing our minds. Let some group of people think of Rwanda and Uganda supporting M23, and another group of people, let them be thinking of the former president, Joseph Kabila, the one supporting M23. Now, you never join together to fight the problem. Yes, they are trying to divide the people. Yo! Now you will ask, now whom can I hate? Whom am I fighting now? When I try to fight Rwanda, it's not the one supporting. Uganda is the one supporting M23. When I try to fight Uganda, no, Uganda is not one fighting, supporting M23. It's Joseph Kabila, the former president. Then, they are trying to divide the Congolese people. One will say, okay, I'm with Joseph Kabila. Now I will not fight M23 because now is the president coming back. Others will say, I don't love Joseph Kabila, let's fight. Bro, they will be divided. There will be no unison to fight a common cause. This is the propaganda. This is propaganda they are trying to send out there in the population. Can't you see it?
The problem is President Felix. The solution is President Felix. Now, how do you understand that? How do you turn that left and right? Up to you. But critical decisions have to be made. And in critical times, you have to make critical decisions. And these are critical times for the Congo. But in as far as we are concerned, well, like I said, we intend to be very much involved in everything that's happening, especially in as far as peace is concerned.
Well, Kabila's controversial return has led to a number of questions, and we'll put some of those to our guests in just a moment. But first, Al Jazeera's Alain Wekani has this update from the eastern Congolese city of Goma.
In the town of Goma here, opinions still divided around the announcement made by the surrounding of the former President Joseph Kabila on his return in the country. He announced that he arrived in Goma here for bringing solution to what has been going on here. The country is going through a security situation, but people also know that Kabila, as a former president, has some part of responsibility in what happened here, but they also believing that for the time being, Kabila has a solution for what is going on. This is why the opinion are still waiting to know what exactly Kabila is here for.
We can't know exactly if Kabila will be able to bring a solution to what is going on for now, but we need to hear him first on his real motivation. For sure, he can do something.
First of all, Kabila is a former president, and in his time, he worked very hard for peace in this country. Remember, he united the country and people during the transition period with 4 different vice presidents.
I believe that the presence of Joseph Kabila will bring more good solutions for the country because Kabila is a man of peace.
In the political environment, this arrival announcement has also raised a debate, and many people are right now, and other analysts are believing that this can worsen the situation and also can put Joseph Kabila people in danger in Kinshasa, because right now, for example, the political party of Joseph Kabila has been suspended by the Minister of Justice, and also different of other properties of the former president is under the threat in Kinshasa. And then people are questioning whether this will not be another level of escalation right now in the country, but others are still believing that this can be also a beginning of a solution to this ongoing situation in the country. Alain Wekani, Al Jazeera, Goma, for Inside Story.
Thank you. Now, in my strongest opinion, I do believe the situation in DRC is beyond power struggles. Yeah, it's above that. I don't want us to be put there. That now the situation in DRC between the M23 and the government of Tshisekedi and the former president Joseph Kabila is about power struggle. No, this is not about power struggle. Bro, this thing started way back before we were born. It was, remember, in the in the 70s, 60s, 80s. This thing have been there. The fighting in DRC, it has never stopped. It has been there. And the root cause is it's minerals, it's wealthy. That's the root cause. Whoever is fighting in DRC, they are fighting to steal DRC minerals. That's the reason. That's the reason the situation is like today. It's like what it is today. So I don't want us to lie ourselves that because Joseph Kabila is back, is the one backing M23, he wants to get power again. He wants to be in power again to do what? Bro, this is not about power. No, it's about stealing the wealthy. It's about stealing the minerals. That's the cause. You know, you believe me, we've seen the World Criminal Court, pinning some governments in Africa, mainly Uganda, that they went in DRC, they store their minerals, they store their timber, they store their wealth. And Uganda, it was asked to pay for what it stored from DRC. That was not done during Tshisekedi's era. No, back then. And during those times, it was taking place. What was there those days? It's again there today. For what? For stealing the minerals. People are fighting for wealth, not power. And they are not the Congolese fighting themselves. No, they are outside forces. Yes, reports are out. Uganda pinned, Rwanda pinned. Yes, and other outside forces that are giving more support to Rwanda and Uganda. You go steal those minerals. Yeah, you give them to us at a cheaper price instead of us going straight to the Democratic Republic of Congo to make a deals. It will be very expensive for us to get those minerals. But when you fight here, it will be cheaper. So this is beyond power struggles. Let's not narrow this debate to power struggle. No, it's not about power struggle. And whoever brings this, that they are fighting for power, is trying to divert the world. Is that trying to divert the Congolese. Yes.
Let's bring in our guests. From Accra, we're joined by Fidel Amache Awosu, Chief Executive of the security consultancy DevSec Analytics Africa. From Kampala, we're joined by Andrew Mwenda, journalist and editor of The Independent. That's a current affairs news magazine. And from London, we're joined by Alex Vines, director of the Africa programme at Chatham House. A warm welcome to you all. Fidel, let's start with you. Why did Kabila choose to go to the rebel-held city of Goma upon his return from self-imposed exile?
Because
thank you very much for the opportunity. Firstly, the government in Kinshasa has always accused Mr. Kabila of supporting the rebels, that is the M23 and the Congo River Alliance, in their effort to take control of the East and perhaps move towards Kinshasa. Now, these accusations have sometimes been denied by the opposition and Mr. Kabila himself. However, Mr. Kabila obviously has that kind of support or that kind of cooperation with the M23, and that is the main reason why he would choose Goma over Kinshasa. In recent days, security forces or military intelligence have searched his residence in Kinshasa and other places that he have, other properties he has in the capital. So Kinshasa was obviously not a place to go, and therefore London or trying to get to the country by going through Goma was the only way that was convenient for his return from the self-imposed exile he had embarked on in South Africa.
If it was a self-imposed exile, no one forced him into exile. He just forced himself there. Now, let me tell you, I think Joseph Kabila is being used, by those gentlemen and women, who are fighting to steal Congo minerals. Yes, he is now being used to put him there as a clone, that this is the guy fighting to get back into power, is the one supporting M23, and M23, they are just using him for the benefit of their masters. Yes, if M23 is being supported by Rwanda, M23 being supported by Uganda, as reports say, and Joseph Kabila he was living in Uganda. During his youth years, he lived them in Uganda. Meaning is a friend to President of Uganda, General Kaguta Museveni. And Paul Kagame, the President of Rwanda today, he also was living in Uganda. Yes. Yes. Meaning they are friends. And let's first ask ourselves, how the father of Joseph Kabila died. Who killed him? All of a sudden, the son became the president. The son was living in Uganda and his father was on power. Who killed the father? Let's first ask ourselves those questions. Then we'll get to know the gist of the matter. What's really taking place? I strongly believe Joseph Kabila is now being used. Bro, because the world, all its eyes have been on Rwanda and Uganda as the supporters of M23. Now, how do we drive that picture from us and then we put it on somebody else they have been not seeing, they have been not hearing of? Let's use Joseph Kabila to be the one supporting M23, that he wants to fight and get back in the country as the president. And we can give him a free ride back to Goma. We give him security to show the world that this is the main guy behind M23. Bro, they are just playing on our minds. I can't take that. Yes, I can't take that. This is a complete lie. They are lying. They are deceiving. Yes, they are trying to divert us, and I can't be diverted. Yes.
Andrew, what do you make of that? He's been accused of supporting the rebels in the east of the country. What are his links to those rebels and to Rwanda, which has been accused of supporting them?
Well, I don't think, actually from my knowledge, Kabila has not had close ties with M23.
Perfect.
But he has been mobilizing a series of Congolese politicians, businessmen, religious leaders, civil society leaders, to initiate a constitutional conversation in Kinshasa that would facilitate a dialogue whereby Congolese can rewrite the constitution, whereby they devolve power from Kinshasa to the different provinces of the country. Congo is a vast country.
Now, if he has come back to do that, what prevented him to do it during his reign? Yes, he was in power for 10 years. Why he never did that? Yeah, why? Who refused him to do it during his term? He was in the administration. He had all the powers to do that, and when I was saying, then who prevented him not to do it? And he is thinking he can do it today when he is not in power. Bro, don't play on our minds.
With a very small population relative to the size of the land, with the dense forests and swamps, which makes broadcasting power from Kinshasa extremely difficult. And one of the reasons why it has been almost impossible for the Congolese state to stabilize the east is because Kinshasa is about 2,000 kilometers away from Goma and the other eastern regions. And therefore, it's difficult, given that they don't have roads or rail links to the east, for Kinshasa to exercise effective control over the eastern territories. Now, from my knowledge, Kabila has been consulting with the leaders in the East African region, in the Southern African region, and also consulting different players inside DRC.
Now, if you say has been consulting leaders from East Africa, that means Museveni, the Ugandan president, and Paul Kagame, the Rwandan president, and the one who's being accused of supporting M23, funding M23. So if he has been consulting from them, meaning he's in Congo because of them. Yes, I told you, he was living in Uganda, and Paul Kagame was living in Uganda. Now, just guess, who is behind M23 and who is behind all this saga in DRC?
In order to facilitate this constitutional debate in DRC, that can actually lead to the improvement of governance in the country and building of a more effective state.
Alex, what do you make of all of this? How destabilizing is Kabila's presence in the east of the country right now?
I would agree with most of what Andrew had said, although I do think that Joseph Kabila Jr. maybe sees political opportunities here and ambition even to come back as a president again in the DRC longer term. He's been out of the country since 2023, but as Andrew was referring to, he's been on maneuvers recently. So he's been to Namibia, he's been to Uganda, he's been to Rwanda, he's talked to other Congolese politicians that are outside the country at the moment. Mr. Kadumpi is one example of that. And so he sees that there are doubts emerging, particularly in Kinshasa, over the longevity of Mr. Tshisekedi as president, particularly also because Mr. Tshisekedi, the president of the DRC, seems to have been hoping to have changed the constitution, maybe run for an additional term. That's now all very much challenged by the M23 incursions and progress in Eastern Congo. And so he has...
Now you can see the propaganda. Tshisekedi is trying to change the constitution to run for the third term. And Kabila, Joseph, tried it, yes, to change the constitution to run for the third term. Congolese refused it. They went on the streets. Yes, they refused it. Now they are telling us that the Congolese who refused Kabila to change the constitution to run for the third term, they can allow Tshisekedi to run for the third term. That's playing on our minds. And I'm not among those.
Come to GOMA. I think I would agree that he doesn't have close connections with M23 AFC, but he's looking at an opportunity.
You know what they are trying to mean right now? If they say Tshisekedi is trying to change the constitution to run for the third term, now they are trying to kill the trust from the people of Congo they have in their president, to start supporting M23. That the guy who's supporting right now is he's in preparation to change the constitution to run for the third term. So join us, support us, so that we get a free ride to top him. But they have found a lot of resistance and difficulty from the Wananchi. Now, they want to feed them that the guy wants to run for the third term. But the M23 labels, who are being supported by Rwanda, as reports say, and Uganda, as alleged, the president of Rwanda has been in Rwanda for more than 3 terms, for more than 10 years. The president of Uganda is now going for 40 years. And those are the guys they are saying they are the one who's supporting M23. And they are the one who's saying Tshisekedi is trying to run for the third term. For them, they have been there for more than 20 years. Now they are against the one who is trying to run for the third term. Is that connecting somewhere? Is there any essence in that narrative? This is rubbish.
Here of someone that may be able to bridge some of the difficulties that have emerged with the M23 AFC backed by Rwanda, and so sees this as a moment of opportunity.
Alex, you say that he's perhaps looking at another opportunity to be president again. Under the country's current constitution, is he eligible to do that?
He can't be.
Well, no, but he can see an opportunity here if there is a reforming of a constitution and turning the clock back to zero, that this might have a pathway. I'm not sure he's going to be successful in this, but he clearly is ambitious. He's got bored of staying around in Johannesburg for a couple of years, writing a thesis at the University of Johannesburg, and has clearly been seduced by certain people to re-engage into Congolese politics in the way that he has. And so this is his return now, having consulted in the region and more broadly.
Fidel, President Tshisekedi last year accused Kabila of preparing an insurrection. Is there any evidence to suggest that his suspicions might be correct?
Yes. Why? Him meeting with Paul Kagame as alleged that he's the one supporting M23. Joseph Kabila, he's meeting with General Kaguta Museveni, as alleged by the reports that he's supporting M23. That's a clear indication. Yes.
Yes, and so like the other panelists have said, that there is always the issue of the political aspect of things. In fact, when President Tshisekedi gives signal that he's likely to touch the constitution of the DRC, it spooked so many politicians, including Joseph Kabila. But then there is always the environment to take advantage of, and that environment was the rebellion that was taking place in the East. So I believe strongly that Mr. Kabila is not oblivious to contact with the rebels. I think that he has it, because you cannot be in Goma where the rebels have a strong hold without that communication. So there's definitely the link. Also, I think Mr. Kabila does not want to miss out on the new interest, global interest in the DRC. For instance, the mineral for security deal that the US is about to sign, or is likely to sign with the country. He doesn't want to miss out on that, because then he's seen as a prominent opposition figure. And if anything that has to do with the DRC must go forward, the opposition must be involved. Again, he also sees a possible peace through the Doha process or the Doha talks, and therefore he doesn't want to miss out on it. So being in Johannesburg while all these things are happening looks like kind of a withdrawal symptom of power. He wants to be part of the system. He feels that he was supposed to have done this, or he was supposed to be in charge when this is happening, and that is not the case. And currently he wants to be part of it, and that is why he's back in town.
Yeah, that one I can agree. Yes, I can agree. That's fine. That's perfect. Being he failed to do it when he was in office, let Sekedi do it. And this involvement of the USA, Trump administration, involving to stop the Congo DRC war, bro, it's a massive win for Sekedi. If it goes through, and I believe it will go through, because Trump is a businessman. You know, now they are making a deal that all the minerals, we're gonna make a deal about you give me minerals and I give you security. Bro, the M23 will go out. They will go out. Never joke with the US. If they wanted that part of the minerals and they have signed the, bro, the agreement, the deal, just keep watching. M23 will be out of DRC. Yes.
Andrew, how do the people of the DRC feel about Kabila? How much support does he have? Would people want him back?
No.
Kabila is a person with considerable political weight in Congo, in the wider Congo. If I was to imagine a politician in the DRC who can rally different forces within the society of Congo around an agenda for a constitutional conference, I think that Kabila would be that person.
And the man, I don't like the word. If he can be that person to align different people in DRC to any change in the constitution, why they never allowed him to do so during his regime? Why the people said no, don't change our constitution for you to run for the third term? Why people went out on the streets to fight that? Bro, we know what's been happening in the Democratic Republic of Congo, so don't lie to the world that he can line people to support a certain cause in the constitutional change, yet they refused him to do so during his presence. Bro.
The second advantage Kabila has, having been a former president, he has greater clout and a higher profile to reach out to Congolese neighbors in East Africa and Central Africa, with whom he has had contacts for many years, more than 2 decades of contact.
Yeah, just say it, his mentors, yeah.
To reach out to them so that they can support an internal Congolese constitutional process. Now, whether that process can...
His mentors and they are the cause of the problem in the DRC. Yes.
Lead to him becoming president is right now not on the cards, in large part because remember that Kabila was fighting the M23 when he was president.
Yes.
He signed a peace agreement with them, then breached it, just like Tshisekedi has done. But ultimately, Kabila, from my knowledge of the discussions he has had, both with Congolese politicians and with East African leaders, is that they see him as a stabilizing force. That the only way you can resolve the problems of Congo is through dialogue. It cannot be through war. The East African and Southern African leaders have impressed this upon Tshisekedi over the last 4 years, telling him that you cannot resolve the issues of conflict in DRC militarily. It's better to have a peaceful dialogue. Now a consensus has emerged both in the region and among key players in Congo who are fronting Kabila that an enduring, lasting solution for the crisis in Congo must be devolution of power to the different provinces so that they can handle the internal security of the provinces at a local level. Kinshasa cannot exercise effective security control over eastern regions because they are distant and they don't have, as I said earlier, infrastructure links. But if you can allow the provinces of North Kivu, South Kivu, Ituri, Isiro, and all these other equatorial provinces to be self-governing and to manage the internal security at a local level, it will be a much more effective way of controlling the more than 120 rebel groups that dominate the politics of Congo. The other thing is that if you have these regions and provinces able to have security, then the Congolese state in Kinshasa can be responsible for external security, that is external defense. But internal security must be controlled at a local level. And I think that if Kabila becomes a leader of that kind of movement for a constitutional dialogue, he will be able to attract the support of many Congolese people in the church, in the churches, in the business community, in the professions, in civil society, but also even attract the support of regional leaders who are important in this discussion.
Maybe the support of regional leaders, it will be to ask them to stop funding the M23. Yes, because some of the regional leaders are the ones funding M23, are the ones funding these rebel groups in DRC. Now, to stop whatever is taking place in Congo is to stop the funders, those who are funding the rebels, because they are there. The world knows them. Why waste our time? Yet we know the root cause. Let's fight the root cause. Let's stop the root cause. Bro, stop funding these guys. Let's put measures for those funding M23 to stop it. Yes. They are the root cause. They are the problem. M23 is not the problem because they don't have that mandate. How would they get the guns? How would they get the bombs? How would they get the money, the uniform, and so? Without their funders. Yes. We must stop the funders. Please, stop funding this group. Yes.
Alex, searches have been carried out at some of the Kabila family's properties in recent days. His political party has been suspended. They used to be allies. What's behind the enmity and mistrust between Kabila and his predecessor right now?
Yeah, I mean, you're right that the Kabila's party, the PPRD, has been suspended. That's new news, breaking news. It's not surprising. President Tshisekedi is clearly very nervous of Kabila Jr. re-entering the political arena. He is feeling a lot more vulnerable. The M23 progress in Eastern Congo has weakened him, and he is under pressure to both moderate and have dialogue from those that back him in the Kinshasa elite, who previously had backed Kabila Jr. I mean, presidents, in my view, are decided really around politics in Kinshasa. They do have kind of regional reach, but there's a group in Kinshasa that are particularly influential. And so we'll see where this draws out. I think one of the reasons that President Tshisekedi has reached out as robustly as he has to the United States for a minerals deal is to shore himself up and get additional protection also, as well as getting increased pressure then on Rwanda to reduce its support on M23 and at the very least freeze M23 military progress in Eastern Congo. My view is M23 is very tightly linked to Rwanda, and the Congo River Alliance is a bit of a facade that it really is about Rwanda and it is about M23. And so the one other point I'd like to make is that the timing of all of this, I think, is that we are about to enter a new round of negotiations.
Yeah.
There are now 5 African mediators put in place. The Luanda and Nairobi peace processes have been brought together. And again, as Andrew had mentioned, and the other speaker, that there is now real focus on devolution and working out some of the root causes of the Congo. And that's right. I mean, you'll only get sustainable peace by doing that in Congo. An elite bargain between President Tshisekedi and, say, President Paul Kagame of Rwanda is not going to resolve the Congo crisis.
Andrew, Fidel, picking up on what Alex was saying this about the timing, what does Kabila's return from exile mean for the Qatar peace talks between the government and the M23?
So whether it's returned, and then when he returned, he did not go to any other place than the GOMA. Now, what this means is that it's potentially destructive, because then if Mr. Kabila wants constitutional talks, it's not when tensions are high. Currently, even though the talks are going on in Doha, there was a Lendu pro-government forces are clashing with M23 in the Masisi district, Kabari in South Kivu, and Kaheri in South Kivu district. They are still clashing. From time to time, there are skirmishes, and it's resulting in some death. That is already threatening the peace talks. So his coming in and the government disagreeing with that move could potentially disrupt the talks in Doha. Well, Qatar has that kind of carrots that or the credibility to mediate the conflict, and Turkey is backing it. However, much of what shapes the conflict is on the ground, and so his movement to back to the DRC could be disruptive.
By their allegations that Qatar is the one buying off minerals for Kagame through M23, they are stealing from Congo. The allegations are there. Yes, that is Qatar the one buying all those minerals, and is the one giving Kagame all the money is using to support M23. Now, I don't think Qatar can mediate these two countries, because for them it's a beneficial. It's in their benefit to continue supporting Kagame and the M23 so that they get more minerals from Congo. But for what US President Donald Trump has done, what Trump has done, the declaration of principles signing, they would have signed a declaration of principles to take out all the foreign troops from DRC. They must be out. Now, the one who will stay there, the one who will remain there, it will be upon him to face the consequences. US has signed that. Let's just wait for what's going to happen.
Andrew, are President Tshisekedi and his government competent? For anyone who's not familiar with what's going on in the DRC right now, are his critics in Kabila's party correct when they call him an apprentice or a novice, or is that just political rhetoric? Is the country any better off now under Tshisekedi than it was under Kabila and his father before him?
Well, I would not like to comment on the individual competencies of the leaders, in large part because there is, I think, a way politics or power is organized, exercised, and reproduced in Kinshasa that tends to baffle us. Many times we think leaders in Kinshasa are making irrational decisions, but I'm beginning to think that there is a rational basis to their madness. Because even when Kabila was president, he failed to negotiate an enduring or a lasting peace agreement with M23 and other rebel groups.
Yes.
So therefore, just beyond Tshisekedi, I think the discussion should not be about these individuals, it should be how do we restructure the politics of Congo that can facilitate a resolution of the conflict. Now let me come to Kabila going.
No. How do we stop the funders, Uganda and Rwanda? How do we stop them? That's the gist of this matter. Nothing more. We need to stop the funders.
To GOMA. Because if Kabila entered any part of Congo under the control of Kinshasa, he would have been arrested. So it is inevitable that if he had to go back home, he had to go through Goma. The second, we need to see that there is a link between the desire for political dialogue and the military confrontation between M23 and the government of Kinshasa. The military successes of the M23 have significantly weakened the grip on power by Tshisekedi, and therefore he cannot afford to be belligerent. He would have to, I think the circumstances on the ground demand that he seeks a peaceful resolution to this conflict. I am aware, by the way, that when he met with the East African leaders and also met with the SADC leaders, they told him two things. One, that the M23 has legitimate demands, rather legitimate grievances and legitimate demands, and that he must seek a peaceful resolution of that conflict. But it's very difficult to stop conflicts when they start. What can be achieved in Congo right now is to drive two processes. The political process which Kabila wants to lead, which is a constitutional dialogue to devolve power to the regions, and a military struggle. And that military struggle aids the political negotiations, because the more Tshisekedi gets weakened, the more he is inclined to pursue a peaceful resolution. When he recognizes that the military belligerents will not pay dividends, he's likely to accept talks. And without a military threat, he will not go to the talks. So the two processes are self-reinforcing.
Now you've heard. Andrew Mwenda is a friend to Paul Kagame, is a friend to John Haguta Museveni, the so-called alleged supporters of M23. So he's telling you from the horse's mouth, yeah, from the horse's mouth, that they must mount pressure to Tshisekedi for them to get what they want. That's why they are fighting. To get more minerals. Oh, I told you what must be done to stop the conflicts in DRC, to stop General Museveni and Paul Kagame. That's the key. That's the gist of the matter. When they are stopped from funding M23, bro, Congo will be at peace. Those are the gentlemen behind all the conflicts you see.
The third part is the Americans. You see, from what I know from the Trump administration, a mineral deal for Congo is much more difficult for the United States. One, because the government of Donald Trump does not want to send military troops abroad. And a lot of the minerals that are being contested over, especially the rare earth minerals they're looking for, are in eastern regions, which are controlled by M23. So the question would be, is the United States going to put boots on the ground for it to be able to access these minerals? So the US government is aware that any agreement they sign with Tshisekedi or with Kinshasa, without the consent of other players, will be null and void, because it cannot be enforced without US military presence. And I don't think Washington, D.C. has appetite for renewed military deployments, especially in the jungles of Congo.
Alex, picking up on what Andrew was saying.
And what we've seen during the signing today, as they are signing the Declaration of Principles, bro, all parties were there, were involved. DRC and Rwanda, the so-called supporter of M23, they were involved in this signing. And the key point in the signing was all foreign troops must leave DRC. And when the foreign troops leave DRC, US will be able to access the minerals they want. Bro, and what you are saying, that the government of Washington is not willing to send their troops outside, bro, they will send it. They will send them. They will send them. You just watch. If you not respect the agreement you've reached on, you just watch the space.
What's it going to take to bring lasting peace to the DRC? And is Kabila's presence in the country right now going to help or hinder that?
Both Fidel and Andrew have alluded to the kind of the process of having constitutional talks and kind of reimagining the DRC, because it isn't functioning at all as a state at the moment, and it's being pulled in different directions by neighboring countries that have interests in it also, you know, be they Rwanda or Uganda or to the south, Angola and so on. And then, as Andrew mentioned, you've got international players all with their interests, the United States. I think a reason that Qatar has been able to play a role is it's got interests, including economic ones, on both sides of the Eastern Congo border, both in Rwanda and in the DRC.
Yeah.
So it will need the pressure of conflict. That definitely has moderated the Tshisekedi administration's appetite to try and achieve peace through war, if that's the way to put it.
Alex,
what has surprised us all is how successful M23 has been. I never imagined that Goma and Bukavu would fall as quickly as they have to the rebels.
All right, Alex, we're almost out of time. One more question. How dangerous a moment is this right now for the DRC with Kabila being back? Could the conflict escalate further and worsen that already dire humanitarian situation? Or do you think this is the beginning of the end, that things will actually improve due to his presence now?
I think that things can improve. I mean, you're right that the humanitarian crisis is dire. 7 million displaced, 3,000 dead in this renewed conflict. The red line for me is if the M23 rebels move towards Kisangani and were to capture that would really escalate things very dramatically. I have a feeling that we're maybe rowing back from that now and going into a cycle of negotiation, both the Doha process, but also the Africa-led one by 5 African mediators and then teams looking at the pillars of underlying crisis in Congo and how to resolve them. So how do you reconstitute the Congolese state, I think, is what they're looking at.
Gentlemen, there, we're going to have to end it. Many thanks indeed for taking part in the programme today. It's been really good to talk to you. Fidel Amache Awosu, Andrew Mwenda and Alex Vines. And thank you for watching. You can see the programme again at any time by going to the website at aljazeera.com. For further discussion, join us at our Facebook page at facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. And of course, you can join the conversation.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Now, I think the situation in DRC, for it to reach the everlasting peace, this deal Congo has entered with the United States of America, where they have signed a declaration of principles that all foreign troops must get out of DRC. That's a good big win for Tshisekedi. Yes. In the due process, they have to sit the funders of M23, the M23, and the government. US says, bro, I have a deal with the government. I'm here legally. I want to access that place and get my minerals. So get your troops out of here. And they must talk to the funders. I'm happy Rwanda is involved, but Uganda is not involved. But again, Rwanda is Uganda. Yes. Yes. Let's pray for the everlasting peace, because Congo must be in peace. If Congo is not in peace, Africa is not at peace. Yes.